Chaotically Nerdy is made by nerds for nerds. This podcast is made by adults for adults and children with bad parents. Adult language will be used and adult situations may arise. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay. On today's episode of Chaotically Nerdy, we are going to discuss building a PC because all three of us have done that. And we're just going to discuss the state of it today. We're going to go through the components and all that fun stuff. And this will talk about all the components you will need. And we'll kind of go over what's the best for them. We've got 4 different tiers as far as price-wise and quality-wise as what you can get. So starting it off, we've got RAM. So your RAM is your memory. You'll hear the 2 different things said. Basically, everybody recommends at least 8 gigabytes.
It's getting to where it's like 16
Yeah,
now.
16
like
is
minimum.
Yeah, but
It's not expensive either.
it's gotten cheaper.
Like $60. No, it's actually getting more expensive.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's gone up a little bit, but
It's about like $5 to $10 pretty much
Gotcha.
per.
It went up and then it came back down.
a lot more games have been going to utilizing more of the RAM outside of the processing because a lot of the processing comes on the loading now of things. Whereas, like, it was mostly bandwidth before for the loading, but now it's like a lot of processing.
With DDR5 RAM
Yeah.
coming in, that's also going to push DDR4 RAM going up because they're not going to make it anymore.
Yeah.
It's gonna,
That's the other thing. There are different speeds to your RAM.
well, yeah.
So there's like 3,000, 3,200.
36.
Yeah.
You can't mix them, and you literally can't put them in the wrong slot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just to clarify,
Really
you said
easy.
can't
Can't.
mix them.
Cannot.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess you could, but
It won't boot.
It won't boot.
Well,
It
Well,
will.
may boot,
It'll
but it won't
boot.
work.
It'd be
It will run at
unstable
the
as fuck.
lowest RAM speed that you
yes.
have.
So if you put in
installed.
if you put in a 3,000
Yeah,
and a
but-
3,600,
Yeah.
it's only going to run at the
yeah,
3,000.
it might boot. It might not. But
It
if
actually-
does, it'll probably actually go to like 2133 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something
Just
Yeah.
just don't mix them.
Yeah, it's just easier to buy the exact same RAM
Mm-hmm.
the entire time and go with that.
Oh, then there's also cache latency stuff, but different same speeds in RAM, getting different cache latencies.
But you don't really have to worry about that too much because
It's just something.
as long
need
as you have
to
the
look
right
out for.
speed, RAM is RAM.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Something you want to look out for though, because you might get overcharged for a
Oh yeah.
lower latency.
And the other thing is RGB. That's the biggest thing. Like,
No, not the biggest.
no. That's a big
It makes
thing
the RAM
lately.
run faster.
Yeah, that's what people
Switches.
will think for
It's
some reason.
Flames on a car.
it doesn't
There's
do
no
nothing.
need for it. Just spend more money on better RAM instead of buying the RAM with RGB.
In my defense, in the super high tier, I did buy RGB.
Well, in the super high tier,
Or
at
my
that point,
bill.
we're getting to pretty expensive, so it
Yeah.
makes sense.
It wasn't that expensive, really. It was like $20 more than regular RAM.
Gotcha. So actually, after RAM, I want to talk about motherboard. It's not in order on our list, but I want to talk about the motherboard because it can be confusing.
Never skimp on a motherboard.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Never.
2 things you don't skip on: motherboard, power supply.
Yep. They make Wi-Fi enabled motherboards now.
Yep.
I think they've been making them for a while, but
And
I
they all
think they
come
seem
with
like they're.
It's a newfangled thing. Wi-Fi's
Well,
been around.
I know, but used to you had
You
to
don't have
buy
to buy
a
an
different
external
yeah,
Wi-Fi card. Yes.
Yeah. And you also need to pay attention to how many NVMe slots it has for your storage.
And the M.2 slots.
If you want to go for that M.2, that's NVMe.
That's what I'm saying. For the M.2.
And what
Your
gen-
RAM
well,
slots.
I was gonna say what gen they are.
Yes.
If they're Gen 3 or 4.
And yeah, what gen they are. Make sure they fit your processor. Make sure that they have enough RAM slots. If you're going to use 4 sticks of 8 gigabyte RAM, so you have 32, you need to make sure you have 4 slots open because some motherboards only have 2.
Oh, something we didn't mention on the RAM. Dual channel is better than single channel RAM.
That's why I wanted to go to motherboard next because most are dual channel from the motherboards I've seen
Nowadays, yeah.
are dual channel. And whenever you put your RAM into your PC, it will be in slots 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. You don't put them side by side, otherwise you're not using one.
Could depend on the motherboard. 95% of motherboards are like that, but like there's probably some stupid, cheap bullshit that's not that's like, oh, here, actually, our main slots are 2 and 4. It just look at your manual.
Yeah, look at your manual, but 95% of the time you're going to be in the two opposites. It doesn't matter which 2 you use. You can use 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 as long as you use those corresponding slots. As long as you use 2 and 4 or 1 and 3. Because that's how I started mine out, was 2 and 4, because I like the placement whenever I only had 2 sticks.
Yeah, also sometimes you may not have a choice.
And you also have to pay attention to which RAM they fit. Now, this makes less sense right now because DDR3 is not as big a thing.
And DDR5 is just literally launched
But
last
when DDR5 comes out, you will have to pay attention because I'm sure that they will place the way it's built will not fit a DDR4.
Don't know.
Also,
Presumably, because that's what they did with DDR3 to DDR4.
I'm assuming it probably actually fit the same slot, but the pin out will probably be different.
Well, that's what I
Or
mean.
maybe the notch will be different.
The notch will be different, so therefore you'll have to have a certain motherboard that can fit that notch.
Also, with motherboards, the other thing you really want to pay attention to is the back panel.
Yeah. How many?
So
ports
many
you get?
people I know have bought one and then they regretted having a bad back panel. Like not enough USB ports, not enough HDMI ports, display ports in general, just not there.
Who the fuck use HDMI?
That's-
Use a display port.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I said both. Yeah, that's why I said both.
But, I mean, you shouldn't be running that from your motherboard anyway.
No,
It should be running from your GPU.
Well,
but if you have to,
look,
then
it
you're going to
depends
want
how
it.
budget you are.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's true.
So now on to the CPUs, which is your computer processing unit.
It's the brain.
Yep, the brain. There are multiple options out there. You have AMD versus Intel, which is your Ryzen 3, 5, 7, 9. And then Intel is i3, i5, i7, i9. With Intel, they have a option called K, meaning they'll end like Actually, I know mine's a K, so give me a second. I'll find it.
It just means overclock.
Yep, it means you can overclock it. If it doesn't have that K, it means it's set at that speed.
Ryzen, the X variant is the overclockable one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that because I don't have Ryzen. I have Intel. But
For the most part, there's not a lot of wiggle room on Ryzen to overclock, but there's a little bit. So it's kind of like, do you want to pay the extra $30-$40 to get the X? And it's
yeah.
depends.
And most people I see recommending like PC parts, they try to push for an i5 or Ryzen 5 at least.
It depends on what you're doing.
It does depend on what you're doing. If it's just like a home PC that you're just going to surf the internet with or anything like that, you could go with 3 and it'd be fine. But
also, if you're gaming, you don't need the i9.
no,
Not
by no
by
means.
a long shot.
Yeah.
But if you're doing like video editing, if you're doing like actual like CGI art, like you're gonna want that i9 because the processing on those types of like editing programs is a lot heavier.
Yes.
Also, if you're intending to use Google Chrome, buy the i9 because it sucks.
Also have, about
Yeah,
256 gigs RAM.
Yeah.
Right.
Have as much RAM as physically possible. Are you trying to do the math as to how much RAM is physically possible?
No, most of them will say on there, it's like it's either 128 or 256.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
So, if you're playing a lot of games, you're going to need a GPU.
Oh yeah. Most
And
definitely.
have they announced a 4000 series yet?
Not that I know of.
I didn't think NVIDIA or anybody has announced
Who the fuck knows?
a 4000 series yet. But again, you have your AMD because they make a GPU, which is Radeon. I don't know a lot of people that even suggest it. Most people.
I had one.
Did you? Did you like it?
It wasn't bad.
During the
It wasn't
great.
Card depression.
Yeah, card depression. They were recommending them.
I had the Radeon like really early on though, like when they first like came out.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
For the most part, their GPUs are slightly subpar to the NVIDIA ones.
there's so many other ones that work with with the stuff that go with the Radeon. Like,
Yeah.
we might as well just get one of the other ones that works better.
The power supply. That's the one that we talked about. You shouldn't skimp on.
I personally would never buy one that was because they have gold. They have like
They have bronze, silver, gold.
Platinum, titanium.
Yeah.
platinum. I would never go below gold.
Yeah.
Yep.
Personally,
That neither have I.
I don't want to burn down my house.
Yep. And I honestly right now have way too much power supply for.
That's not a bad thing.
No,
I'm actually short.
I did it so that
I'm really close to being short. It's just on that edge because I upgraded my graphics card to the 2700 Super.
gotcha.
2070 Super.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might want to get a new.
No, it's still within the range. It's
just
still
like-
it's still on.
It's at 540 and he's at 550.
No.
I was hoping not that close. I think
Yeah.
more like 450 to 550.
No, it's like 5 to 650.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
And then storage. I didn't write that
Yeah,
down,
you didn't
but
write that down. I
hey,
noticed it.
sometimes you notice shit whenever.
At least you got to get like a SATA drive, but like now NVMe M.2 drives are equally as cheap.
They do get exponentially more expensive
Yes.
the more storage is in them. So
Yes.
like the difference between the 1 terabyte and the 2 terabyte is
I'm
significant.
specifically talking about a boot drive though, like just something to boot off of quickly.
M.2. There's no
Oh
reason
yeah,
not to go with
the
M.2.
fastest as possible for.
It was
for a boot drive
alarming.
at least.
Like the first person I helped install an M.2 was Sean, and he like it was alarming. Like we looked away for like a second once we started booting up Windows.
Yeah.
The first time on his new computer, we looked away and we looked back and it was done.
That's how I felt about my SSD, my solid state drive, whenever I first did it, because I had come from a Mac that was at that point like 6 years old, so it was wearing down, and it took a while for it to like start, and then I could crank that up and I'd be on it minutes before the Mac was ready.
Right. It just it's a strange thing, especially for me since I just have cursory knowledge of a lot of the stuff. I just know a lot of things that go good together. Yeah. But like it was really weird to see how much faster the downloads were with the M.2 over the regular SSDs.
Oh, I can just tell you because I have actual hard drives in mine.
Well, it's because the processing is so much faster.
So, and then let's go back to regular hard drives.
Yeah.
Because regular hard drives, your HDDs have two different speeds. Is it two, right? There's 5600 and 7200, I believe. And that's your...
5400?
Is it 54?
I think it's 54.
Okay. 54 and 72?
We're really smart.
Yeah.
Listen, I haven't used one in God knows how long. I have 3 solid state drives in my computer.
Yeah, I wouldn't use one.
Well, they're just cheap. You can get like a terabyte or 2 terabytes for like $50. So they're just cheap storage. That's what I use them for. I download it to my M.2, transfer it over to my hard drive.
Yeah. And that's what most people do anyway. It's something of that matter, either a solid state drive or hard drive.
If it were me, though, and I was wanting a lot of storage, I would not go with the hard drive, even at the same price. If it was like 4 terabytes in a hard drive was the same price as 1 terabyte in the SSD, I would still buy the SSD.
I don't think I would go that dramatic.
No, I wouldn't either.
I would do half. Like if it was 4-2.
I would still buy the SSD.
Yeah, I would buy the SSD. But 4-1 that seems like a lot to me.
I don't know what the price is right now. I haven't looked at the storage prices recently.
I have to go look, but
yeah,
it was significantly cheaper. Like my computer, I have two terabyte drives in it, so I have 4 terabytes of hard drive storage. I'll never use it, like all of it, but it's important with how big games are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays. I mean, you
They're
got some
getting
games
a lot of bloat.
like the Call of Duty Warzone is like 200 something
56,
gigabytes. It's ridiculous. It takes like I have a 500 gigabyte SSD that I used to build my first computer that I brought over, and that's pretty much all I had on it. Was just that, just because I was like, they're just going to keep adding stuff. They're just and now I've deleted it because I would rather have the space than have a game that I play that gets updated every month, and I probably play it once a month, if that. And then the last thing, which is mostly preference, is case. Mm-hmm. The only thing you have to do is make sure that your motherboard, which will be either micro ATX, ATX,
ITX.
Is it ITX?
There's ITX too,
Oh.
which is the little ones.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So you have to just make sure that it will fit your motherboard.
Airflow and space.
And the more space you have, the bigger tower you have, because they have
Full tower, mid tower.
Yeah.
And then that's when you get to your ATX or micro ATX and ITX size cases.
which are very small, and I don't recommend them. I don't like smaller cases.
It depends on what you're doing.
It does.
They look cool
They do look cool, but I prefer the airflow. That's just me.
because they will run hot as balls.
A couple other things is cooling for your CPU. Actually, I think all coolers come with a fan, or
Nope.
CPUs come with a fan.
Does Intel's?
Yes, it does.
I
They're
think-
shitty fans.
I believe maybe the Ryzen 3s don't. I think.
I don't know. I
know-
don't know about the lower end as far as i3s. I think they do come with a fan, but I think it's a really shitty fan, and everybody gets a different one anyway.
Look, I would have kept mine on there. It just didn't seat properly for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, but you should almost always upgrade to a better CPU fan.
And AIO,
AIO, all in one.
yeah, all in one. I don't know why I
There's
was trying to-
absolutely nothing wrong with air cooling either.
No,
I mean,
I
like
have-
liquid
I
cooling is
have it.
perfectly fine. All-in-ones are fantastic.
I love all in one.
Oh, they're amazing. But there's nothing wrong with going with the cheaper route and going with air cooling. It works just fine. It's what I use at home.
Yep.
I don't know. I went Mega Chungus, so mine cost about as much as an AIO. So
Yeah.
But-
and we'll talk about our builds later,
works.
so we can kind of explain what we have and stuff like that. So the different tiers of PC components, or not, of your builds, I guess is a better way to say that. So I've got low tier, which is $1,000 or less. Mid tier is 1,000 to 2,000. Your higher tier is 2,000 to 3,000, and your super high tier, which is just overkill for most people, is 3,000 plus.
yeah, your super high tier is usually set aside for like your video processing,
Streaming.
Yes.
Yeah.
those kinds of setups that need either dual video cards or just really high end components.
So, did you go through? You went through and actually built some.
I made one for each one.
Okay, so tell us what they are,
God, yeah, I gotta pull it up.
or we can just kind of talk right
Maybe
now.
for like 5 seconds. We get the PC part.
What's your case?
My case?
Your case is the case I sold you,
yeah,
correct?
Yeah.
So
I don't even know what it is because you sold it to me. Yeah.
it's a. No, I can't even remember what it is.
Corsair.
No, it's not Corsair.
Cooler?
That's the one I have right now. No. What is the? There's a brand that makes.
Fantex.
No,
Well, I don't want
you're just saying all kinds of names,
I
and
don't
none of
wanna-
them are getting picked up. By the way,
I'm literally just saying every case manufacturer.
I don't want to riff too much on my build yet.
yeah,
But-
because we're going to talk about it later.
But I would like to preface these statements or whatever we're about to talk about by saying that I did a challenge myself to build a desktop as cheaply as possible.
Yeah.
So I bought a lot of secondhand parts from people I trusted and stuff like that, and went for sales and stuff like that, and waited 6 months and bought all my stuff. So I bought stuff from people. I don't really know
What everything
exactly
costs.
What it
everything
cost
was
retail.
and what it costs.
Gotcha. I would guess that all three of us are in mid tier.
I'm high.
You're in high.
I'm in high to even super high with the way prices are today. If I was to rebuild mine today, it would be in super high
Sure. Yeah.
because prices are stupid right now. But
Mine-
I would
mine's a
say
mid.
high.
Yeah. You're
When I built it, it was high. It was like $2,500 to $3,000 was mine. So lower tier. What do we got?
you're looking at you're going to end up spending about right at $1,000. This is what this build I had did. But you're going to get a Ryzen 5 5600X processor.
It's a good processor because you're already in the 5.
I got a nice Cooler Master Hyper 212 air cooler on it.
Is that air or
Yeah,
AIO?
Air cooler, yep. I literally said air cooler.
I didn't know. I didn't hear you.
Got a Ace Rock B550 motherboard, 16 gigs of G-Skills Ripjaws RAM, a 500 gigabyte M.2, 2060 graphics card, and then you got I just picked a $70 case and a $80 power supply. That's gold, 650 watt, fully modular. But the case, it doesn't really matter. You could go pick up a $20 or $30 case.
Yeah. Or you could spend more if you wanted to.
Or you could spend more, but I just figured $60 to $70 is a good middle ground for what most people would build. but it came out to like $983.
And that's without peripherals, so
That's
no
no
keyboard,
peripherals,
no
so
mouse,
nothing.
no monitor. Which, if you want to stay below that $1,000, you could make things a little bit cheaper on that. You could go
Oh,
with
yeah.
8 gigabytes of RAM instead of 16. You
Well,
could
yeah, you
get
could-
down to a Ryzen 3 if you wanted.
Well, you can just even go back a generation and get like a 3600.
Yeah.
And you save you like 30 or 40 bucks. And
Yeah.
you can get like halfway decent.
But that's actually, I think that's a really good computer.
That's,
All in all,
It's not bad. No.
to be honest, that's almost nearly exactly, but I just have a 3600 and I have
What was the GPU again? I mean,
a 2060.
Just 2060. That's exactly
there's
the same.
nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a good.
That'll get you by.
Yep.
To get you by, you'd be able to run everything.
On
for
1080,
years,
you
for like
could.
for like multiple years, you'll be able to get by.
Yeah, well, like I helped someone build their computer, and they did not buy a brand new GPU. They bought everything else brand new, but they used their old GPU, which is a 1060,
Yeah.
and it runs everything
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
max,
Yeah. To be honest, if
even
you
the
have
new games.
At 1080.
if you have
Yeah.
a secondhand GPU, you can still probably get to 1080
Oh yeah.
with most of these.
Oh, yeah.
The games take very little now to get to 1080.
Yeah.
Like everybody's pushing for 4K, so that's where your higher end stuff is really pushing it. What about mid tier? Do you got one
Yep.
made for that? Do you got to find it?
No.
Okay.
Got a Ryzen 7 5800X with the AIO for this one, a Kraken X53 in ZXT.
That's the case. In
Oh,
ZXT,
yeah.
I could not remember.
Yeah, they make
that's,
AIOs.
Remember that
Yeah.
now? Yeah.
yep.
They even make a motherboard that's really slick and it's really sexy. It's like all white. It's like all white and plated. Oh my god, it's so fucking cool. And then I just kept the same RAM. Oh no, I upgraded to 32 gigs, but you could just bump that back down to 16 and save you $50. But I got an actual Gen 4. No, this is Gen 3. Sorry, this is a Samsung 970 EVO plus 1 terabyte M.2 and a crucial 500 gig SSD. Just that way you had a little bit extra.
And that's something we didn't talk about was you can start off with a very small amount of
Yeah.
hard drive space and then later on add more. It's so easy to add.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm building this as like someone that was like, in that space. They're gonna be like,
Yeah.
here's what you spent.
But that's what I mean
you can
is
back
you
up
can
all
start
this.
out with 500 and that'll cover running. It'll cover most games. You just have to be careful with how many you download.
Yeah.
And then as you save up some more money, you can buy another one and add to it.
This one I was slightly surprised at the video card. It's a RTX 3070 Ti. You can get that for about $800 now.
Damn.
It's come down significant. I was like, oh, I can fit this in the budget. Case is a Corsair 4000D Airflow, and the power supply is a EVGA Supernova 750 watt 80 plus gold fully modular. I like fully modular power supplies. It keeps the clutter out of your
Yes.
basement.
Yep. And by fully
Looks cleaner.
modular, that is one where you can choose which cables you need, and that's
Yeah.
all you have to put in. You don't have to put in cables to every single slot. It doesn't.
So
They're
there's-
removable.
The fully modular has ports on the back.
Yes.
That you can plug the different like SATA cables and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you can have your.
And then the other ones they're directly wired into the power supply.
And they usually have the ugly ass like ketchup and mustard cables.
Yeah.
Usually,
I mean, both of them are good. It's just that
it's a preference thing.
it is a preference thing, but the fully modular ones are a little bit easier to work with. I
Yes, they
think.
are. You,
I agree.
Yeah, you don't have to have all the cables in there when you shove them in. If your case has a power supply basement,
It's a little
shroud.
easier to do cable management
Yeah.
as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you can just have everything.
Yeah,
You
you
can
can
actually-
hook it up to your motherboard
I was
first,
saying, yeah, you can
and
run
then
it
run it
backward.
where you need it.
You can actually run it
That's
backwards.
how
to
I
get
did
it.
my last one.
It's way easier.
High tier,
Okay, you got a Ryzen 9 5900X.
which is overkill.
It is, but we're in high tier now.
Hey,
Same air cooler or same AIO, same thing. Because
the Kraken.
that's like one of the best AIOs that I know of.
Yeah. What I use
Corsair. one?
Corsair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this, I don't know if I said on the motherboard, but it was probably it might have been
I think
X570.
I think you said it was X570.
Yeah, but this one X570 MSI Tomahawk. This one you got the Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro, 32 gigs of 3600 megahertz. I got the Gen 4 M.2 2 terabyte Samsung 980 Pro. and this is where it really hurts, the RTX 3080 Ti for about $1,300. So there's
Fuck.
almost half your budget. Yeah. Less than I thought it was going to be.
I'm going to go buy it.
And then I just picked
3080.
I picked some real like ostentatious case. So I picked a Lee & Lee 011 Air Mini.
You don't need a 3080.
No,
I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
But then since the case is white, look at this coordination. I got the Corsair white power supply.
Gotcha. Hey.
At least wait for the 4K series.
850 gold, or 850 watt, 80 plus gold, fully modular.
Yep.
And that you actually have some room to go up there. That's only 27.
Yeah, so you got about $300 more,
Yeah.
roughly, if you're wanting to stay in the $3,000. Now, let's see you're all out. This is way too much build.
Well, you got a Ryzen 9 5950X.
Obviously, he's a Ryzen guy.
I am
Everything's
Ryzen.
It sounds like it, but I mean,
I also
I
just
think-
like
nothing wrong.
I like
with Ryzen.
I like their motherboard situation better.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's something we didn't talk about in the Intel verse.
We haven't. got to
We
it
haven't
yet.
got to Intel versus AMD.
Well,
We'll get to it in a second.
okay, fine.
I
Trying to
went,
rush us, damn it.
I decided, let's change it up. So I went with like a Noctua
Oh, Noctua is good.
Noctua is good.
D15
Oh, man.
Chromax black and just like black this son of a bitch out.
Mm-hmm.
You got an Asus ROG Crosshair 8 Hero, which is a $400 motherboard.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
it said high tier
I
3,000
know.
plus. There's no upper limit on this.
Yeah, I know.
You got 64 gigs of RAM. That's the same Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro.
RGB.
Hey, it's got four slots. I want that thing.
why not
looking-
128?
I don't know. You're right. Why not? It probably costs more.
You know what? Let me change that.
It's a server now.
Yeah, basically. Same hard drive, M.2 drive. The graphics card, RTX 3090, $1,700. That's not that bad.
No,
They're like what when they come out, like probably
When they came out, it was
14, 15.
something like that.
So it's actually getting better.
I think it was 15.
Yeah. And then I went with Lee & Cool Mesh 2, and then a Fantex 1200 watt 80 plus platinum power supply.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like over 7.
Why not multiple
Or 6.
GPUs?
I mean, we could. I mean, I could just throw another one on there and was
From what I've read about
another
multiple
55.
GPUs, is that there's not really a
Yeah.
benefit to it for
Now,
gaming.
If
anymore?
you're streaming.
If you're streaming,
sure.
yes, but if you're just gaming,
Yeah.
there's no benefit
Sure.
to it.
No,
Also,
there's not.
Let me throw another 3090 on there that only pushes it up to $5,400.
Yeah, but
And there's
a few streamers I've seen that have like the smoothest streaming quality actually run a different.
they run a different
rig.
PC and run
Yeah.
into it.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly.
They buy like a $1,500 computer, and that's their streaming rig where they run everything through,
yeah.
and then they have their super high powered gaming rig.
But
It's like butter. I mean, it's so
It's
smooth
beautiful.
when they do that. Yeah.
How much did you say that one was?
the last one, 37.
37. That's still not
No.
That's not that bad.
terrible for like your.
And that's also me going out. You don't need to do that.
No, yeah, you don't need to spend all that.
Oh, absolutely not.
So now let's talk about Intel versus AMD.
Right now, Intel wins, but that's because they released their new generation.
Yeah,
But I think you said what I feel about it is that I think Intel's better, but I feel like the AMD motherboards are in a better spot to me.
Yes, because it's been the same for 3 or 4 generations.
so you can
Yeah.
buy like an older
Well,
one.
okay, I forget. I think the 5000 series doesn't work with B450 boards, but they just came out with the B550 boards like a couple years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And then the X570 fits, I think, everything that's out. But it's all the AM4 socket. Whereas it seems like Intel changes their socket every 2 generations.
They
Oh,
do.
yeah.
You really have to pay
So,
attention whenever you're buying
There's no,
something.
there's no real forward upgradability unless you buy a new motherboard, which is an added
Which
expense.
is a benefit of PC Part Picker, which is you can set it to where you can choose if things aren't compatible. It will tell you.
I'll just warn you on every one of those I had, except for the X570 boards, the first 2 with the B550 boards. It will say it's not compatible. All you have to do is do a BIOS update, and then they're compatible.
And sometimes that happens. You just have to update your stuff. But AMD, I think now I'm not an AMD guy. I'm an Intel guy. I've always heard Intel is better for gaming because it's better at single core processing.
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
AMD is better at multi-core, so it'd be
Yes.
better for if you're going to
Video
use it for
processing.
more than just gaming.
Any productivity work, AMD's better.
Exactly.
Intel's better by somewhere between 5 and 10% on the gaming side. So really, it's
and
just
that kind of depends on what you want to use it for.
It also depends on like what level of.
Oh yeah, like if you're going to compare a Ryzen 5 to an i7, of course you're going to say
the i7's going to win.
i7's going to win because it's a bigger processor, it's going to be better, or vice versa. If you're going to do i5
But if
versus
you buy like the max one on both, the difference is going to be so minimal.
yeah,
yes,
that's
that
the
you
thing.
wouldn't
Yeah.
really know.
They
So that's
really-
where if you're
But
going to buy the max, you should buy.
It's really when you get down to like the mid tiers, like the i5s.
It's like what's better bang for your buck.
Exactly.
right. You really want to look
And
at
that's why you went with AMD.
I always have thought AMD's, especially their 5 and 7 and 3s, are much better.
Yes.
And normally the AMD is cheaper. So if
Exactly.
you're trying to do like you're trying to stay within your budget, AMD is usually a lot more affordable.
Yeah.
And if it's not a lot more affordable, it's a little bit more affordable. I've never seen one that was comparable from AMD and Intel that the Intel was cheaper. I've never seen one.
There was a little while there where they were cheaper, but it was a brief little bit when AMD had a shortage, I believe. Like they were having issues getting out processors, and so
Was this
prices were going up
was
on
it
them.
when this during the Great Recession,
Probably.
Oh,
the Great Superconductor Recession?
Yeah.
that doesn't count.
Yeah, we don't count the
No,
internet
I-
at
The
that
pricing does not count during the.
No. So now let's talk about peripherals. Important things that you're going to need: mouse, keyboard. Those are obvious. You're going to want either speakers or headphone. Most people choose headphones because it's less intrusive to other people in your home.
time. And a monitor.
And a monitor, obviously.
Well, I mean,
I just hadn't got there yet.
Okay.
Is there anything else we can think of that? I mean, a microphone, unless your headphones have a microphone attached to them.
It depends
If you're
on
going to
what
play with
you're-
friends.
Yeah, if you're going to play with friends. Yeah.
If you're going to play solo, it doesn't matter. Just get
Doesn't matter.
whatever you want.
I think that's all the peripherals I can think of. Maybe a webcam or something. I mean,
Well,
we
That's
are,
if you're going to
we-
stream
well,
or.
no, I mean we're in the day of like Zoom and whatever.
Yeah, that's true. You could use a webcam for
Yeah.
that. For
I mean, I have a webcam and I don't use it.
Oh.
But
Well,
I
also
have
if you're streaming, like
Yeah.
webcam is
Yeah.
not necessary, but I mean it is usually encouraged.
as far as monitors go, you've got 1080p, you've got 1440p, you've got 4K. I think there's some 8K out now.
But don't focus on that.
Don't focus on that. You want to focus on your refresh rate because
Yeah.
that is so much more important. I would
Well-
rather play at 1080p at 144 hertz compared to 4K at 30 frames a second.
Oh no! Oh,
Yeah.
30?
60.
6?
I'm okay with 60.
I mean, 60 is
I
the
can
minimum.
deal with
Yeah,
60.
60 is the minimum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but if you start having
30 is a bit low. Then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I had a
what are we
one that's
what
going to
are we,
run at
Xbox.
if I had one that's going to run at
I say that,
30
but I've been
frames a
playing
second.
Atlas, and
Yeah,
there's
but
no
that's-
way it's running at 60.
No.
I didn't spend $5,000 on my PC.
the highest I ever got was 50.
Yeah, and it was like
That's the highest you ever got.
That's the
on Atlas
highest
with
I
your-
ever got on Atlas.
it's a pretty game, but
It's
man,
if you
I'd
don't
be-
move,
I'd
it's
be
beautiful.
Be lucky to pull
It's
30
really
probably.
weird because it does process more off the RAM.
Yeah.
Oh well, maybe I got you guys
Like
beat then.
32 minimum.
I got 64, so we're good.
I'll get into that later. Okay, so we won't
What
go into
about
that
my
yet.
obsession with RAM?
But
No,
yes,
no, our builds. I don't.
Okay.
it is very important to pay attention to your refresh rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's some monitors that are 60 hertz only. That means you can only go up to 60 frames. There's 144. There's 120. I think I've seen 160 something.
165.
165.
I've
You
even
can-
seen some like 200 ones that are like the pro
Yeah, but I mean,
streamer sniper build.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Do you need that?
That's really not
Anything over 60
Okay,
is beautiful, in my opinion.
it's been proven though. The more it refreshes, the more you can see. I can understand it for those like pro gamers that they need those super high refresh rate monitors
Yeah.
because they have to be good at their job.
And they have to turn fast.
Yeah.
Like most of it's first person shooters.
Yeah, but most people aren't getting paid to game.
Yeah,
most people aren't. So that's why I personally, both of my monitors, because I have two, are 144.
same.
The second one, I don't need.
It's just
I
nice to
don't
have.
need it to be 144. It just came from the first build, and I kept it, and that's why.
There are like a few of the peripherals like you can kind of skimp on and be perfectly fine, but there are two, and it's monitor and mouse.
And I would say you could even skimp on a mouse at the start.
at the start,
Like-
but there's nothing more
Yeah, I had that
infuriating than a
cheap-
bad mouse.
I agree.
I had that cheap ass red dragon one that was fine.
I bought one that was a very cheap. Is a
Price
cheap
does
keyboard.
not mean
Quality.
good.
Yeah.
Quality.
Well,
Because
they
look
look
at Logitech. Logitech makes some of the best mice
It
out
definitely
there,
wasn't high quality.
and they're like for gaming mice, they're like some of the cheapest, and they make some of the best ones. Like the G series is fantastic.
Yeah. Where to find your parts? Amazon, Newegg. You can go to PC Part Picker, and it will
That's-
actually, as you put them in, it will show you the cheapest one available.
There's a couple different
Is it
sites
B&H
for it.
photo? What's
B&H
the-
photo.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I know. I know which one you're talking about. It shows up a lot.
I think it's B&H photo.
There's a couple different sites for it. All I've ever really used personally was PC Part Picker.
That just like
It's easy.
collates everything.
Yeah, it
It's
puts
easy.
everything together, and then you can just find and buy it.
Amazon Newegg.
It gives you
Yeah.
the options. If you haven't used it before, it gives you the options of like these places are where we found it that you can buy it. And
cheapest.
It'll
and
even
they'll
show you the different prices at
Yeah.
that time.
The thing you have to look at, like, you know, if you're not someone that deals with like mail-in rebates, there's a lot of those on there, so you got to
There-
be careful.
Yeah, you have to pay attention to that because sometimes it'll say, "Oh, this is $120 after a $80 mail-in rebate." And
But
so
then again, that's a pretty good feature too. If you're one of those people who want to do the mail-in rebates,
yeah, you can get
They're-
stuff cheaper.
that website is fantastic.
Yes, yes, it is. Companies. So some companies, NZXT, Origin, I believe, does it. You can actually go on their website and you can pick out your parts, and they will build it and send it to you.
I bought an Origin laptop for my mom that I made put all the parts together for her because she was having continual problems when she was buying her own. But I mean, I set it up. The thing is perfect. It's almost waterproof. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. She's had it for several years. I paid like $2,000 for it, and it's fantastic.
And that is where you will run into prices being significantly higher, though. You will take a $1,500 computer, and all of a sudden it's $2,500.
Oh yeah.
But
Because
yeah, fit in that small form factor.
exactly.
Of course, laptops are usually more expensive anyway.
Yes.
For the parts.
Well,
that
and
we
I don't even mean laptops. I just mean using those sites in general.
Yes,
They,
those sites, yes. You have
anytime
their-
that you have somebody else build it for you, there's a hefty charge.
That's the only reason I bought one from them, though. Really, was because she was wanting a laptop.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
plays
some-
games.
And that's
something-
understandable.
Something you couldn't build yourself.
No,
Not without difficulty.
I don't know
it'd
if
be
it's really
no.
possible.
It is not. No.
Not to insult your skill level. At his skill level, I
No.
don't know if it's possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible at mine.
And that brings us to the difficulty of building a PC. It's not difficult.
It's a double
whatsoever.
Legos.
Yeah. If you ever played with Legos, it's that simple. You pay attention to your manual that tells you which cables go to which, and it's that simple. You just plug them.
If you
Turn
get
it on.
anxiety, it might be a problem though. If you don't know what you're doing and you're and you're one of those people who has anxiety problems,
Yeah.
you might have some issues with it.
My first build, I thought I was going to have a heart attack because I built it, got it all together, plugged it in, hit the power button, nothing. I sat there, I broke the whole thing back down, it was just simply I did not turn on the power supply switch on the
You
back of the computer.
stupid
Oh, I
fuck.
was so mad at myself.
You know how many people have done that?
I freaked out so much. I broke the thing down, rebuilt it,
yeah.
and did it again. And I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. Because at the time I was working nights and we were getting off at work, and we would get off at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because it was just work until you got finished. And I'd go home and I'd work on the computer. So it was like 5 o'clock that morning. I'd spent like 3 hours doing this, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to bed. I'll deal with it in the morning. Started like Googling whenever I woke up, and I was like, did I forget to flip that switch? Surely to God, I'm not that stupid, am I? And I turn around, flip the switch. It's still plugged in from the time before. Flip it, hit the power button. We're loading. And I was like, you fucking idiot.
So many issues with building that people come up with are really easy fixes like
Yes.
that, though. I mean, they're just little simple things that you may have forgotten.
And there's videos all over YouTube that you can watch, and you can watch them step by step, basically. Especially now because YouTube's added where you can, especially if you're on a computer, you can like search and click a certain area of the video. And
Oh, you mean
someplace,
like the timestamps or
Yeah.
like the section? You can do that on a phone, yeah.
oh,
You don't know if you can search, but you can just scrub through it and see the titles of everything.
gotcha.
But there's a lot of complicated things you could do with it, but none of them are necessary. So, like, you've probably
cooling.
heard about overclocking.
Or overclocking.
Yeah.
Overclocking
it's not
and-
necessary.
Overclocking and liquid cooling.
If you don't know what you're doing, I would even discourage it.
Yes, if this is
Especially
your first
if
time,
you don't know what you're doing.
don't do it.
Yeah.
But in the water cooling, like you said, it can be a little bit of a hassle.
I've wanted to do
Not
that.
as much anymore.
But I just don't want to deal with the hassle.
It's more of a hassle thing than it's just more complicated. You have to,
Yeah.
get cuts, especially if you go hard tubing.
Yeah.
I don't know why the hell you would do that for your first build, but
The other thing with that is most of them now have a liquid cooling option for you, like an all-in-one option for your GPU. Of course, you can buy an all-in-one for your CPU, which I always do. I recommend that. I like the liquid. It keeps it cooler, minimally cooler, but still cooler. I had my first GPU was actually a hybrid, so it had liquid cooling attached to it. It was just a little fan. I hooked it to the back, and it ran through, and it kept my GPU ridiculously cool, and I loved it. So then I said, okay, next time I build one, I'm going to build a liquid cooling. And then I seen how much work it was going to take, and I was like, fuck it, I'll try out air cooling.
And that was probably with just like soft tubing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. It's not that big a deal to me. And when I bought when lightning hit my house and I had to rebuild it, I just upgraded. I bought a 2080 Ti, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And it's air cooled and it's marginally higher. It's not enough to make a difference. It does fine. So I don't think I would ever actually go through the process of having to build a liquid cooled PC.
They look pretty.
They do look pretty, but
Especially if you're building your first one, I would just stick with the air cool.
just
It's
stick
so
with air
much
cooled
easier.
and AIOs.
Yeah. And then over time, you can upgrade it if you want to give it a shot, see how it works.
Yep.
That's definitely that's the thing we didn't touch on really is the upgradability of
Oh yeah.
You swap in, swap out parts, upgrade parts to the next level.
I mean, like, I literally just, I bought a new GPU, opened up the case, took the old GPU out, put the new one in, closed the case, done.
Yep.
It's so
And then
much
you
easier.
just update some drivers and you're good to go.
But if you're building your first PC, don't get overwhelmed. It's a giant Lego set.
Yep.
It's adult Legos.
Yep.
Not to imply Legos are only for children, but
Don't judge me.
So if you didn't have a computer and you wanted to get one, do you think you would suggest buying one right now? Let me rephrase that question. Would you suggest building one right now over just going to a store and buying one?
Right now, absolutely, because I don't know what's going to happen, and it's lower than it has been for like a long time.
Agreed.
we are in a bit of a downswing finally.
I'm actually considering it myself.
In terms of graphics cards.
And here's the thing about buying one in the store that's not brought up. You look at it and you'll see, oh my God, it's got an i7, whatever. It's got a 3070. This has got all the stuff that I want, but they have cheaped out somewhere down the line.
Usually
it's
the
either motherboard, RAM, power supply. Those are your three things that they don't ever say on it, and it's because they're cheap and will probably fail you at some point down the line.
Or even worse, proprietary.
Exactly. And
yeah.
there was a time where I had thought about buying a pre-built to take the
That's how bad it got, folks.
to take the GPU and the CPU out and use it with my build to upgrade my build, because it would have been cheaper for me to buy that whole build and just switch out the parts.
And then sell the parts.
I not even sell the parts. I would have put them in my old computer and just sold the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or the pre-built computer
That's
is a
what
better
I'm
way
saying.
to say it.
Sell the part, like just sell it off.
Yeah, sell the
you would
computer
end up
and-
making money, or at least, in theory.
So yes, if you're going to build right now as of April 2022, it's probably a good time to do it.
I can finally recommend it again after building those 4 PCs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's doable.
I was
Essential.
really surprised at your builds that they were as good as they were, especially the low tier ones.
the low tier one's a very, very good one.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to run 1080, that'd be beautiful.
Like I said, it's literally my build, but with a better processor.
So essential applications once you get this thing made.
I like to have some, like whatever you're going to use to at least look at your temps just to make sure everything's right. Because that's what happened to me. I had the stock rising cooler on it, and my PC kept shutting down.
I didn't know why.
I didn't know why. Found out my CPU was overheating because the cooler wasn't seated on it properly, so I just had to get a different cooler.
So which one do you use?
I use hardware, HD hardware, I think, or I have to go look. I don't know.
HW monitor?
Yep. That's
Okay.
what it is.
Actually, I knew that one because I used it for a while.
Yep.
I use MSI Afterburner. It's customizable, and you can use it for overclocking, which was something I was going to do. Now it's kind of pushing away because I don't want to.
If you're having trouble with drivers, I've had a lot of trouble with drivers and helping people with drivers and stuff like that. If you're having trouble with the drivers that come with your peripherals or even with your like GPU and stuff like that, there is nothing wrong with most generic drivers. Usually they're just as fine or even better than some. But at the same time, it's going to work better with the original if you can make it work.
Gotcha. I always put Malwarebytes on mine.
Malwarebytes.
I feel like I use CC Cleaner. I just started using that recently.
I use Bitdefender now.
Bitdefender.
Yeah.
Is that similar to Malwarebytes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, like you can do a lot more with it.
Gotcha.
But I like it a lot. It works really well. It's easy to use.
Yeah. I don't recommend a antivirus.
Yeah.
Like people will always push for like Norton antivirus. It's just a pop-up on your fucking computer, and it's annoying.
I was going to say just a MLM.
Yeah. Windows
Essentially.
Windows antivirus works good enough, especially if you have a backup like Bitdefender or Malwarebytes to watch that stuff.
If you're going to do any sort of e-commerce stuff or doing a lot of buying on your computer with your card, it's like even on through Steam and stuff, get a password protecting program.
Yeah.
Usually they're cheap or free.
Yeah.
And they run off of your computer, like through your browser or something like that. And they're usually they're usually really easy to use. And then they'll save your passwords and stuff like that. But then you have to have like
a password for the password protector.
Yes. So it gets kind of like convoluted at first, what seems like, but
Rushing nesting dolls.
Yes.
You got one inside the other, inside the other, inside
but
the
it's
other.
a lot safer.
Yeah. The other thing that you will need is your applications depending on your peripherals. We talked about Razer. If you have Razer, they have their own app that you basically have to. It's Synapse.
Synapse
is what it is.
Cortex Synapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to launch Synapse from Cortex, I think.
It's
a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. I have issues with it all the time. Every time it updates, my keyboard, which is the only Razer thing I have left, does not. Not the only thing I have left, but the only thing I really use is it's just a nightmare. It does not work right for 2 weeks, and then it'll just all of a sudden the colors are what I placed it to be, and we're working again.
I never have that problem.
And then a couple weeks later, there's another update, and just shit.
How old is your keyboard?
It's not that old.
I don't have any
2 years, because
Mine's like a year old.
I built it whenever the lightning hit the house.
I have no problems. Like only when I turn my PC off, then I just have to restart Synapse, and then it.
3 years. 2019 was when I built that.
I should restart Synapse, and then it kicks back my RGB back on my keyboard. But
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our current builds, and this is where the D&D part is because I'm going to roll dice again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go back to Tyler's 1-2, Jarrett's 3-4, Ethan's 5-6. 6. Ethan, go first.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to be a little bit odd because I did like a real budget build.
Are you saying your components don't match? Like scheme, like price wise?
They were all really cheap.
Yeah.
They were all as cheap as possible.
Match to get like you have a 2070 and it doesn't like match. The scale
it's
of your
like
CPU.
It's like a conglomeration.
You got an i3 and a 2070.
Look, I've seen fucking people do that.
Yep.
I don't know. It's so like my RAM, I have a really weird amount of RAM. I have 22 gigabytes.
Hang on, it's 16 and how the fuck did you get 22?
That's what I'm saying. There's a 4 in there somewhere.
It's like 3s or something.
What?
No.
Explain it.
Yeah, how'd you get to 22?
So I do have two of the. So I have the original I bought was the G-Skill Aegis, but they were DDR3.
Oh.
This is a long while ago. So It's 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
So then 2, 4,
Oh.
6. And I have 2 more sticks. Both of them are threes.
How
I traded somebody for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be a relic.
They were really weird, but they were DDR3 and they work perfectly fine.
That will be a fucking relic someday.
Yeah.
You keep those.
Someday they're now.
I know it's a relic now, but
I don't even
it'll
remember what they are, but I'm not opening up my computer to find out because they're working right now. I don't care.
That's the main reason I got rid of that case. I hated opening that computer.
Oh yeah, I don't like it. And getting it back together,
Yeah.
it's a hassle.
100% main reason I switched.
My CPU is a AMD FX 6350.
You are correct, sir. Your shit don't match.
It don't.
It's
Does not.
It's 3.9 gigahertz,
When
but
the
it's
fuck
only
did-
6 cores.
When did that come out?
10 years ago. Works perfectly fine. I have no problems with it. Oddly enough, I got my GPU really cheap. It's a 2070 Super NVIDIA GeForce.
Wasn't it like $400 or $300?
No, I bought it for $250.
$250.
Gee, that's the one that you
Right?
worked with.
Now this is
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 2 months after COVID started, when all the
Yeah.
prices were going up, like he was like just done trying to build his own computer because he bent the pins on his
CPU.
CPU.
Hey.
That's an easy thing to do.
It happens.
Yeah, did you do that?
I fixed them though.
He tried to fix him with like pliers,
Nope. You know what I did? It was like a
toothpick.
paper clip. I think I had
really?
something just stiff. And it was
Good Lord, Jerry.
he knows. I was texting when it was happening. I was like,
Wow.
I freaked the fuck out.
Well, that is like stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
he like destroyed his CPU,
Yeah.
but he was done trying to build it for the moment. So he was trying to sell it. He was trying to sell it for like several months, and then he finally sold it to me for $250.
That is a really, really
That's
good.
I also got like 4 case fans
Oh my god.
for free with the deal because I said I don't want to buy it, and he's like, "But I got these case fans to throw in there for free." I'm like, "Done." $250 for a 2070 Super.
Damn idiot.
That's awesome.
PCU's it's 650. It's just a thing. It's fully modular. It works. It's gold.
You don't know the
gold.
brand?
I don't remember.
Okay.
EVGA, I think.
Okay.
Probably. That's a very common one.
yeah.
Very, very common.
Gigabyte GA 970A. I don't even know.
What is that?
It's AM3 plus.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
really old.
Sure.
Yeah, I have to replace it. The case I bought from you. We talked about that case.
Yeah. It's
It's got decent airflow.
yeah. It does have decent airflow. It's not
it's-
a bad case.
It's a hassle to build in though.
Yeah, exactly. That was
Yeah.
the main reason I hated it.
And the wiring in it's really annoying. Yeah. But altogether, I like my build. Runs just fine. Have no problems. Runs everything at max.
Hard drive.
Hard drive?
Storage.
I have a hard drive, but it's an old hard drive I have.
I have a hard drive. Well, thank you.
Thank
you, good sir.
It's a 2 tera.
You
It's
have
called
it?
Philip.
You have it updated. It's like a M.2 or a SSD.
I do not. I have an SSD
Okay.
for my boot drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so your case that you bought for me, I think is either an H210 or an H510. It's one of those two. I can't remember which
From whom?
one. From NZXT.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Roll off.
Okay, so I'm 1, 2, 3. You're 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
2.
Yeah.
All right, so it's me next. So mine, like I've talked about, my house got hit by lightning. I had pretty much this same build. I took my build and moved it to a bigger case. It's not
Except for the graphics card.
the graphics card was significantly lower compared to what it is now.
Oh, it was a 1080.
980.
980.
I had a 980 Ti. Lightning hit the house, destroyed everything except for the hard drives. Interestingly enough,
Still don't know how the fuck that.
I don't know how the hard drives made it, but the keyboard and mouse didn't.
It makes
It's
no
just,
sense to me.
it makes no sense to me either. But guess what? It works. I'm still waiting on them to crash one day.
They are probably like.
Oh, they're taking time on it,
unstable
I'm sure.
or not stable.
So now, whenever I rebuild it, I have an i7 9700K, and it's at 3.6 gigahertz. I planned on overclocking it at some point.
Don't ask me for my gigahertz.
Well,
I
I
have
say
no
that
clue.
because it's able to be overclocked. I haven't done that yet, and probably won't. I have a Corsair H115i AIO. It's got the little bit bigger fans. It's not your normal size fans. a RTX 2080 Ti. It's from EVGA, triple fans. I love it. I'm using a Gigabyte Z390 Pro. Aorus Pro? I can't read my own handwriting. That's what's terrible. I have 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance. It's running at 3200. I've got a EVGA 850 watt gold fully modular PSU. It is in a Corsair 780T full tower. I bought this tower because it has screen filters on the front and top that just pop out. They're super great. And then the side cases, they're just a lift handle. You just lift up the handle and you can pull off your panels, and it's beautiful. Love it. I have 3 SSDs. One of them is an 860 Evo from Samsung. It's 2 terabytes. And then I have 850s Evos because they were bought beforehand. And there's a 1 terabyte and a 500. I started with 500, then I added the terabyte, and then I added the 2 terabyte when I made this new build. I use a Razer Black Widow with orange switches. They're like semi-loud, semi-quiet. They're not super bad, but I'm going to switch them soon, or switch the whole damn keyboard soon. I have a Razer Naga Trinity, and it has a side piece that is switchable, so you can use it for like MMOs. You can use it. It's got different switches per use. Mm-hmm. And I also have a Corsair Nightsword, which I use most of the time. That's my new one. I really like it. And my microphone at home, Audio-Technica AT2020. It's just the USB version. And then the same headphones I'm using for this podcast, which is the Audio-Technica AT-HM50X. And I really love it. I really do. So, Jarrett, let's talk about yours now.
Let's see. We got CPU Ryzen 5 3600, motherboard MSI X570A Pro, RAM 64 gigs of G-Skills Ripjaws, 3200 megahertz. I might have went overboard, but I just wanted future-proof.
Sometimes it's worth it.
Yep. GPU, I believe it's an EVGA. I'm not entirely sure with my graphics card. I think it's EVGA. 2060 KO Ultra. PSU was a Thermaltake 650 watt, 800 or 880 plus gold, fully modular. My case is a Be Quiet Pure Base 600 orange. I kind of don't like the case anymore because it doesn't have I had to actually make my own filter for the top. It didn't come with one. I forget the actual case now, but there's a different Be Quiet case that actually has a top filter that's
gotcha.
Works. It works good enough. Storage, I have two. Like I said, I have a boot drive that's I think it's a Crucial. I'm not sure. It's a Crucial.
I think it is Crucial. I think I remember you telling me that.
Like 500 gig boot drive, and then I think I actually have 2 of those. M.2, and then I have 2 terabyte. I forgot the company. Seagate.
That's a good company.
Yeah, Seagate terabyte hard drives that I use. I have an Asus monitor. Don't ask me which one. It's 144 hertz, 1440p. I don't know. My keyboard is a Razer one. Which one is it? I've forgotten. My mouse is a Death Adder though. And then like I said, my headphones are the Razer Black Shark Pros V2 or something like that.
I didn't talk about my peripherals.
We'll talk about them.
Oh,
now's as good a time as any.
I also looked at my my list, and it's not 2 3s; it's a 2 and a 4.
How the fuck does your computer boot?
Perfectly fine, pretty quick actually.
It's very confusing me because you're not supposed to mix and match, and you did it 3 different ways.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. It works. That's all I care about. And then I do have a Kraken headset. It's an older one, but it works perfectly fine. It's the THX. It sounds really great. Has a really great sound in it. I actually like it better than these Logitech ones I've got on right now. And then I've got a HyperX keyboard. It's a really heavy keyboard. It's got, I don't remember what the switches are on the keyboard. They're cherries, I think. But
probably.
I think
that's what most of them are.
Yeah. Nice clicky sound. And then SteelSeries mouse that I bought for I think it was
Now he sits here and he talks about how good Logitech mice are, and he's got a SteelSeries.
Because the Logitech one was the one that was messing with my headset.
Gotcha.
So, had to do it.
Yeah, I had to.
Understandable. one thing I didn't talk about was my monitors. I have I think it's Acer. That is my 1080p 144 hertz.
Nah, it's not Asus. It's Acer. I knew it was the A
Okay,
ones.
so it's and then
what it is.
the other one is a Dell. It was just the cheapest one I find. It's 1440p 144 hertz because that's just what I like. We talked about speeds or frame rates, and we said anything less than 60 is terrible. Elden Ring will run less than 60 sometimes for me. I don't like it.
That Ultra.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
pretty hefty game though.
it is hefty game.
That's the thing to men. These are at Ultra. So if you're like
Oh yeah, I have bumped some of my settings down to try and fix the issue.
high or medium or something,
Yeah.
certain settings also cause it to be.
Yeah, whenever I'm in like a city, it's much more dense. But that's all the time we have for today. We talked about everything we wanted to hit, luckily. One thing that I consistently forget to mention on our podcast is that the intro and outro music is by Alex Grohl. You can find him on Spotify. I found it on Pixabay, and that's where you can go and download the music if you need some royalty-free music. Just give him a shout out or check him out on Spotify. He had multiple other multiple other songs that he had made, and I liked them all, honestly. I just felt like these two were best for what we were doing. And so we want to thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again later.